Can you take care of the general manager's report?
Sure. First thing in the general manager's report is talking about our APPA mutual aid. We did receive a commendation for our work helping the city utilities of Springfield, Missouri. Here, right before the 4th of July, we sent a crew down there. That was the second time we had helped Springfield out this year. We'd also helped Poplar Bluff out for about a week earlier this spring. And so Darren just wanted to bring it up and just talk about or reiterate how it is a good thing. You know, we've helped in-state utilities. We've helped utilities as far as away as some of the Virgin Islands. Back in 2017, we sent a crew there for roughly 50 days to help restore power after a hurricane. Last year, we went to Louisiana, Florida twice, and South Carolina once. We just want to bring up how it's a good thing, and this is through our MPUA mutual aid agreement. We're tied in with the APPA, American Public Power Association, and that's how we help out these other utilities. We'll bring up that back in 2021, we had an ice storm and a windstorm where we used that same mutual aid agreement to bring crews into town to help us restore power to our customers. And in 2013, we had that windstorm in May that we brought in around 10 crews or so from around the state to help us restore power and get our customers back with electricity. In his general manager's report, it also has information about our rates and how they reflect against other rates in the area, both water and electric. And one thing I want to bring up under power supply is if you look for July 2025, we were averaging about $96.80 per megawatt hour. A year ago, we were doing $78.80. So you see quite a bit of price difference there. So just wanted you to be aware of that. As we look at the graphs that follow, you see the LMPs or the day-ahead prices are gradually creeping up, and the graph in the last page of his report really shows how that price has advanced over the past 6-8 months from March through July. So that's all I've got for his report, unless you all have any questions.
Anybody have any questions of the report as it is? Okay. Before moving on to the next one, April, we started into this one, but we'll go right back to the public comments. So if you want to.
Thank you for adding me. Sorry, I volunteer
Yeah.
in Quincy, and hopefully you guys cannot just hear me yelling at that guy. I was trying to say, I think that's a key has to pay because he was trying to get in the front door. I don't know how many of you were downtown over 4th of July weekend. Cole, you probably were working. Okay, and it was hotter than heck. So that week, I believe it was Tuesday, which would have been July 1st, I was messaged asking if downtown was going to be cleaned up before the weekend. It was in regards to the construction from the first phase, I believe, of the storm drain water. So there was kind of a mess next to mud volleyball, and then the corner on the avenue right there. I don't know if any of you guys saw it, but whatever those roundish, square, hollow. I'm assuming it's for what is to go underground. Matt, you would probably know
The
what
box culvert sections.
Yeah.
Yes.
They were like blocking the sidewalk. There was like mud all the way down the sidewalk. The company that had done the work left trash everywhere. So July 1st, I had actually messaged John asking about getting it cleaned up. And he said, this has been forwarded to Darren, and he and Andy have a meeting this morning, and Darren said they would address it right away. I said, wonderful, thanks so much. So Wednesday, July 2nd at 2:20, John messaged me back and said, here's the latest from Darren and Andy. Andy's get together, the trash at the bottom of the street will be handled by tomorrow afternoon. Signage of closed sidewalks will also be in place. And I'm not going to read all the messages about like what I was saying as far as it blocking the sidewalk whenever I leave here, I'll forward you guys, email you everything. But I just wanted to read to you a message that I got from someone Saturday, a little before 3 p.m. They said, "Is this April?" I said, "Yes." They said, "This is so-and-so." They asked me not to say their name. "I got your number from one of the Wyman's members. That is one of your regulars. I thought you said this mess down by mud volleyball would be cleaned up by Thursday afternoon." I said, "Correct. I apologize. My phone has been going off nonstop about fireworks since Wednesday afternoon, really, and haven't had a chance to get down there to check. Is it not?" He said, "Well, it's Saturday afternoon, and I can assure you it did not get cleaned up. As we speak, I am watching kids pick up boards and swinging them, boards with nails, mind you, and play in this mess like it's a playground. Several of us watching the game on the furthest court have been trying to keep an eye on them to make sure no one gets hurt. Why wasn't it cleaned up?" I said, "Are you serious? I promise you that is what was sent to me by the board president himself, saying it would be cleaned up. I honestly don't know why it wasn't and truly apologize. I didn't go down Thursday night and make sure it was, and will most definitely be bringing this up at their next board meeting. I apologize. I did not know when the date was, so I missed your guys' last board meeting. If I would have known it was going to be done, I promise I would have gotten it cleaned up for you. At this point, all I can do is sincerely apologize again and pray no one gets hurt. I will see if I can find some caution tape to bring down to put around that area to hopefully keep kids from playing in there." And he messaged a couple things before and then just said, "Just wish they would have done what they said they were going to do and get the mess cleaned up." I said, "Completely understand and agree. Again, so sorry, and we'll be sure to address it at the next board meeting." So I actually had brought this up to John at the last council meeting, and some of your guys' board was not there. So, Cole, did you see that mess downtown by chance when you were down there? I'm not sure if you did or not.
We were mainly over by, I mean, where the truck is over there by the brewery. We were in and out everywhere.
Yeah.
mean-
I just didn't know if you saw how bad it was. And one of the things I had initially messaged John about was there was also a huge pipe sticking out of the ground that was like a trip hazard that I also asked to be flagged. And so my frustration lies where I'm telling these citizens, yes, it's going to be cleaned up Thursday afternoon, because that's what I was text Wednesday. And were you guys aware that I was told this would all be taken care of by Thursday afternoon, or?
I didn't know anything about the conversation at all. So,
Okay.
I didn't know anything either.
Okay. So I guess my question, John, to you is why didn't you, Darren, or somebody make sure? I don't know who was supposed to be the ones to clean it up, but my frustration lied where you're telling me this and I'm relaying it, and then I'm looking like a liar because it's not being cleaned up. I made the mistake of not going down Thursday night to check to make sure it was cleaned up, and then get sent pictures and videos of children swinging boards down there over the weekend. So whose job was it to clean up that area? Because I honestly don't know.
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah, so you
Oh.
said it was going to be cleaned up. Who was supposed to be the one to
This
clean
is
it up?
public comment. It's not public interrogation. I assumed that it was going to be done. I looked around, saw the boards there. My grandkids were down there, spent 3 hours making forks with them. So kids were playing with them and having a great time. I never saw the before and after, so I guess I'd have to look at the before and after to yield an opinion.
Sorry, can you say the last thing?
I did not see the before and after to render an opinion as to what was exactly done. And I did not personally go down there to check to see what it looked like before and after.
So Saturday, when I was sent this, I ended up going down there, and you were actually sitting at a bleacher by the court. So you had to have seen the after. And when I initially texted you Tuesday, I sent you several pictures and videos for you to see what it looked like. And you're saying that you didn't see, but yet your grandkids were playing in there and you didn't see the after? And I don't know how old your grandchildren are, but I don't think it's safe for children to be swinging boards with nails in them. Like, that's a huge liability to the city. You think that's safe?
Well, I'm sure he doesn't think it's safe. I mean,
Hey.
I don't think it's fair to act like it's all his responsibility.
I saw the kids playing, and they were making forts for 3 hours, maybe 4 hours.
Well, and again, I don't know how old your grandkids are, but younger kids, they don't know any better, and they could actually get hurt. Somebody could accidentally trip on that pipe that wasn't flagged. So again, my frustration lies where you're telling me it's going to be done and nobody saw to it that it was done.
Okay, April, I think the point is here, it's over. And what is it you want John to say to you right now?
Nothing.
What do you need to hear right now?
I'm saying it's frustrating to me when I'm reaching out because one of the last board meetings I came to, John specifically said, please reach out to me if there's any issues. I did that. I reached out to him about an issue. He told me it was going to be taken care of, and it wasn't.
Okay, it's Monday, August 18th, and this happened July 2nd.
Correct. I
Obviously, we
missed the
made a
last.
mistake.
I missed the
We
last.
obviously made a mistake. We can't go back now and fix it.
Right.
Thank
So
you for
I'm saying
bringing it up.
moving forward, like if somebody says something's going to be taken care of or done, I just want to make sure that it is, because again, it's a huge liability on the city if somebody were to get hurt,
Well, I'm
adult
sure
or
John
child.
wanted to make sure it was too. Obviously, there was some miscommunication or some kind of mistake. We're sorry.
Well, I'm just glad that nobody got hurt, but I wanted to make sure the rest of the board members were aware of this because I kind of got the impression that you weren't, based on the last board meeting I came to when you also weren't aware of other things as well. So I guess
thank
it was more so to let you guys know.
There was a lot of, just so you know, there was a lot of radio traffic about not just there, but everywhere up and down Main Street about children doing nefarious things. So, I mean, to single out just one area.
I wasn't aware of anything
Yeah,
else. I was
there
just
was-
reached out to, it was either Monday or Tuesday, because it was specifically down at Mud Volleyball, and they're like, that's an eyesore. And I said, I agree. I don't know whose job that is to get cleaned up. I started reaching out to people at City Hall. They said to reach out to John per the last board meeting that I was at. So that's exactly what I did.
I understand. I mean, I don't know exactly what could have been done. I mean, the contractors were working on whatever they were working on everything, trying to get it finished, and they got it done before the weekend. But I mean,
I think
they
we've
hadn't
had
been-
a lot of trouble with those contractors in general.
Yeah, I was.
And if I remember
Somebody said
right,
that.
isn't it some kind of, I don't know if policy is the right word, but obviously we have to take bids and we have to take the smallest bid. Therefore,
Lowest bid
sometimes,
as a government
It was the
contract.
best bid that we took, the city took.
I was under the impression it was on this company, not on the Board of Public Works, but I was told that
The
the Board of Public
information
Works
was relayed to the contractor. The contractor did not follow through,
Yeah.
is what it amounted to.
Well, and it was my understanding they hadn't been working on Main Street in a while, but why would they even leave a mess like that? Like, you guys hired them and they just leave a
The
mess
city-
for you.
It's the city that has the contract with them, not the Board of Public Works.
Right, but who was overseeing the company?
The information was relayed to them, and they didn't follow through.
No, but I'm saying before it was relayed to them, why would they even leave that mess down there? Because they
They
thought
had
they
their,
were,
it was identified as a storage site for the project. It was cleared through the city that that's where they could store materials, their trailer, and the items used for the project.
and
The
then what
reason that
about
it's still down there is because it's the same contractor working on phase two,
you, right?
which there is no storage area further up Mark Twain Avenue that is city controlled.
So then in regards to the sidewalk there, it wasn't really necessarily storage, but those blocks or whatever that I was talking about, like completely hindering the sidewalk, mud all the way down. Like those blocks could have been moved so that the sidewalk was at least accessible for that weekend. I just don't understand why things were kind of left a mess, for that weekend. It's just like a big weekend for Hannibal in general.
Yep.
So by no means do I think that it's your guys' fault, but I don't want to say laziness on their company's part, but I feel like it could have been done differently. And I just felt like whoever was overseeing that company maybe
There's
should
things
have.
that'll be changed in phase two that we've learned
Gotcha.
from phase one
And when does phase 2 start? Soon.
after the first of the year.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Matt, if you could move into the operations report, please.
Yeah, first thing I want to bring your attention to is our overall reliability rate. Since I've been giving this report, I don't recall a 99.996 reliability rate. Again, that is attributed to the tree trimming we do, the installation of the animal guards that has been occurring, especially note of interest over the past year. We did reduce our number of outages, but the number of outages minutes increased. You'll see a number of equipment failures that are noted here in this outage report. In talking with Jared, a lot of that is related to transformers. When you load them heavy with air conditioning loads and the heat from the summer, and then it cools off and they get rained on, you have some failures that do occur. You also we had some weather events where we had some lightning strikes and such that also took out some of that equipment. So that's the equipment version or reasons for failure. Notice we didn't have any identified animal outages, which is rare. So we either got rid of all the problem animals or it just wasn't their month. If you go to the water plant report on page 2 of the report, you'll see that 2025 water production number continues to outpace 2024 numbers. One of my item of note, we did change out vessels 3 and 4 of the GAC media, and we're continuing to paint the filter room. And that was something that our crew is doing in-house after we had the rehab of the filters that occurred last year. As I reported at last month's board meeting, we did find a water leak on West Ely there, just past the Minnow Creek Bridge. That was repaired, and that was roughly 30 gallon a minute. That was just disappearing. It wasn't showing up in the sanitary sewer. It wasn't showing up in the creek. And so that's the type of things that our crews are using this portable ultrasonic meter to go around and look for. They install it on the main and then compare it to what the sales are of those customers in that area. And they're checking that on a daily basis. And once they get a handle on that area, they'll add another area to it and see if it changes and trying to track it down that way.
Will this, I think the answer is no, but I'm gonna go ahead and ask. Will this help with the water loss situation
That's
as
what
well?
we're trying to
Okay.
address, yes.
Okay,
This is direct a result of our water loss.
okay.
Wastewater plant, you'll see we did, our water that we treated is a little bit lower than it was in July of 2024. That was a direct result of lack of rain or lack of elevation of the river. We do have a warranty work repair that is going to occur on Clarifier 3. That was a paint job that was done last year that has failed, and they've identified that the supplied paint was somehow faulty, and so this is totally on the contractor to repair, and we're working with them right now to get that schedule when they'll come back and do some blasting and replacement. On the wastewater collection side of things, the crew in-house, we replaced 70 feet of 24-inch old clay tile main. That main had become broken and compromised, and so they set up a pump, pumped around it, and dug out and replaced this 24-inch clay tile. It was about, what was it? It was about 15 feet deep, so we did have to rent a different excavator so that we could reach
Where was that?
Spruce Street, dead end of Spruce Street.
Okay.
So that's great that we're able to do those repairs in-house, and it saves quite a bit of money by doing so. Matthew and Emily attended a new NISC product, which is customer information focused, where they're able to control and gather information on their own without having to call in. And so that's something that they're exploring more about. And we did, IT related, we did do a phone conversion back on the 29th, and that went relatively good. So kudos to Matthew and Zane for getting that done. And then one thing that is noted here that we began in August was the replacement of a little over 700 water meters for this fiscal year. Historically, we had just done a wholesale change out, and of 7,000, almost 8,000 water meters, we'd just go out and do it in a big batch, and it was just overwhelming. And so now we've went back to where we're doing that on a 10% per year is what we're looking to do, and that way we get that on a rotation and touch every meter. That's all I've got on operations report, unless y'all have any questions.
Anybody have any questions? If not, move right into projects, I guess.
The water loss report water loss project, again, we're using Eating Brothers. They've installed some meters in different locations they've identified out in our system. We've got 2 more that we want to install on a couple of water towers to make sure we understand how the water moves in and out of those tanks, and we can calibrate our model that way, and then we'll have a better understanding. Timeline on that is hopefully completed by the end of the year. Again, as noted earlier, that portable meter that our cruisers using, we're going out and installing meter pits, installing this portable meter, and then comparing it against the actual meters that are to these customers, and comparing water sold versus the water that goes to that main, and that's where we found that 30 to 40 gallon a minute leak there on West Ely. Sewer projects, the big one is going to be the relining of sewer mains outside the flood wall. We're in contact with a contractor right now, trying to set up a schedule with them. That would be any main larger than 15-inch diameter, located from what would that be? Lion Street, down across Bear Creek, and then back toward Wilson Street pump station, which is down on Ely Street or South 6th. The idea behind that is we're going to seal out all those pipe joints to prevent water from coming into those pipes that we don't need to treat. So we see a high flow come in during either a high river event, prolonged flooding, or we have a big rain event. And so we're trying to seal the pipes just to prevent that water that doesn't need to be treated from getting into the system. Last year we did all the mains in that area that were 15-inch diameter and smaller. So the only downside to all this is, and not that I'm wanting a high river, but you don't see the full effect of the improvements you've made if you don't have a high river level or prolonged flooding. So it may be a few years before we see the impacts of this repairs. North Street Phase 1, we're about done. They've got temporary seeding that was completed. They hauled in topsoil. Phase 2, it's been decided to delay until after the first of the year. The concern behind that was with colder weather, asphalt plants close, and they didn't want to be, ready for road repairs 1st of November and it get cold, and they couldn't make the necessary repairs to Mark Twain Avenue. And so, in talking with all the partners in this project, it was decided to delay it until after the first of the year. They would go in, do all the storm sewer installation, and then it would be April timeframe where all the asphalt plants would be opened back up, and the street repair could be completed at that time.
So by extending it, there will be no additional cost? I know sometimes if you don't meet project
There will be a
lines-
little bit of storage cost. They've got all the materials, the box culvert pieces already made, and so there'll be a small charge for that, but that would be it.
Okay.
Bear Creek Dam spillway improvements, again, waiting for drier weather to complete. They've got there, they did about 10 to 15% of the work, but the rains there in late June kind of washed them out, and they've been waiting for a dry time to get back there, and it just seems like we keep having rain a couple times a week, and has prevented them from moving back in. But they're ready to get on this as soon as the weather breaks and it dries up out there. They were planning on 5 weeks of work for this project, and they've got about a week and a half in it, and so they'll be hitting that hard when time allows. And then any amount of substation replacement, majority of the construction and tie-in work is complete. Contractor did damage one piece of equipment that was purchased for it, and so that has pushed out the completion date because they got to get that piece of equipment replaced. And with build times and shipment times, we're not quite sure when that'll occur, but we're hoping that'll be completed in the next couple weeks. And then we'll have to do the testing of all the equipment that they've installed or the commissioning before we can place that into service. We're hoping to get that done, late September, first part of October. So.
Yeah, that was the same estimate that you had last time they identified that part.
Yep. So that's all I've got, unless you all have any questions.
All right. Any questions of the projects? If not, we get Paul to talk numbers.
All right. Well, good afternoon. Thank you for being here, everybody. We will look at financials for the month of July. We are starting a new fiscal year. This will be fiscal year 2026, and so we are operating off of a new budget. And we will talk about a little bit how we're closing last year's fiscal year and how that will affect us. But we'll look at the balance sheet first. We did have another decrease in unrestricted cash from the month before. Like Matt mentioned, with the Indian Mound substation, that project does continue, and so we do continue to pay the construction costs for it. We also have had some pretty expensive purchase power here in July, and so that is another reason that we had a decrease in cash. Fixed assets did increase in July, and that was due to our year-end recognition of several construction in progress items that were capitalized from last fiscal year. Accounts payable, items that we owe and will have to pay, that did decrease substantially. We had several invoices that were outstanding with MISO, our purchase power provider, that we paid in July. And then we lastly had a decrease in long-term debt as we had a debt service payment come out for our 2015 water SRF bond. Utility-wide, total assets are down just slightly from a month ago and are about 3.4% less than a year ago. So like I mentioned, this is the first month of our new fiscal year, and so it's important to remember that when it comes to looking at our debt service coverage ratio, that's calculated once a year as of June 30th. And so that fiscal year is now behind us. It's not completely closed as we continue to wrap up things as we prepare for the audit. But in terms of those debt coverage ratios, we have a pretty good idea of where we ended the year. And so going forward, we have obviously recalculated those ratios, and we'll talk about that here a little bit later. But if we start out with our current month actual and compare that to our new budget, the electric fund does start the year with a positive net income of $5,000. Revenues were the main reason for that. They did come in 13% higher than what we had budgeted. Kilowatt hour sales specifically were 11% higher than the year before, and actually 8.8% higher than the 5-year average. A couple reasons for that. One reason was that it was hot, obviously, but not only was it hot, it was more humid than what we're used to, and so I think we did see more cooling throughout the system, especially in those overnight hours where it typically gets lower, and if we have a drier heat, we don't have quite as much reason to cool, but if you look at all the weather data, that is one big reason why we had an increase in usage. Another big and probably the primary reason is that we had 33 days in this billing cycle as opposed to our normal 30 or 31. Last year specifically, we had 31 days in that cycle, and so whenever that happens, our highest users, our top 10 customers, obviously are inflated quite a bit. And so we had General Mills definitely that had a lot higher usage in the year before. So that's on revenue. Purchase power also came in well over budget. Obviously, with higher usage, we have to purchase that power, and so that was part of it. But even more so, we had a much higher cost, like Matt alluded to. LMPs last year averaged around $35, $36 a megawatt hour. This year, we were over 60 for the month of July. Energy prices do fluctuate directly with natural gas prices, and so that's the primary reason for that increase. With all of the volatility out in the market, with tariffs and other things, natural gas prices have increased as well. And then lastly, what contributed to the higher purchase power was Prairie State, again, was off and on throughout the month. So whenever we lose one of those Prairie State units, we're forced to buy that market power or buy that energy from the market. And then obviously we don't receive the buyback from when that energy is actually generated and then sold back onto the market. And so there were a few key times throughout the month that we lost a unit of Prairie State due to various operational reasons, and so we did lose that benefit there. Switching gears to the water fund, we did start the year with a net loss in that fund. We did start the year with a carbon changeout, and that is now costing us $110,000 per changeout. And so, since we budget for those changeouts evenly throughout the year, every month that we actually do have a changeout, it's going to be a higher expense month for us, as you know. And then sewer fund, lastly, also has a net loss to start the year. Operating costs in that fund came in 31% more than what we had budgeted. So if we look back a year ago and compare our performance this year to last, the electric fund did perform better this year. Looking at the water and sewer funds, they both did perform a bit worse this year. Looking at each line item specifically, revenues were up 12.5% utility-wide. Operating expenses were about 8.3% worse. And then we had purchase power that was about $494,000 more than it was the year before. We have the rest of our items on the financial report, our check register, our credit card statement, and cash reserves and investment listing. But if you flip on down to page 21 of our dashboard, we'll look at that debt coverage ratio. Like I mentioned, we have recalculated that debt coverage ratio as of where we are today, or actually as of July 31st. And so the electric fund sits at 2.52 to start the year. The water fund is a 0.69, and then sewer is at a 1.54. Obviously, like we do every month, we'll continue to monitor all of those closely to ensure that we are in compliance with the 1.25 coverage requirement. The only other item I did want to point out is just a little bit further down. If you look at our subscribers to SmartHub, SmartHub is our online platform where customers can receive their bills, they can check usage history, they can actually pay their bills and everything like that. If you'll recall, earlier this year we did make another concentrated effort to push customers to SmartHub. And so because of that, you can see those numbers there. Back in June, we had an increase of 438 customers to SmartHub, or not to SmartHub, to paperless billing. So once they actually sign up for SmartHub, they then have to actually choose whether or not they want paperless or to still receive that bill in the mail. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to Emily and the customer service team as they continue to make that effort to push customers to paperless and to save some money for us on postage costs as that continues to go up. Between now and the next time we meet, we will have our audit. That will be the first week of September, and so we are continuing to prepare and get the books wrapped up for fiscal year 2025. But we'll definitely have a report of that for you, or a verbal report of how that went for you at the next meeting. Again, they plan to have that draft for us by the November board meeting, and so we'll have plenty of time to talk about that. That's all I've got, unless anybody has any questions.
Prairie State credit was up pretty good.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, definitely with the higher LMPs, it does translate to higher payback that we get back from that when it is running.
Anybody have any questions of the financial reporter, Paul? If not, we can just move right into your next item.
All right, so a bit of housekeeping here with the business park. At one point in the design of the business park, we had thrown around the idea of putting in a lake, and if that were to come to fruition, it would destroy, or it was deemed to have, or would destroy certain habitat. And so because of that, we would have to do certain mitigation work around town to compensate for that habitat that were to be destroyed. And so in the case that we were to ever do that mitigation work, we are required to carry a line of credit with F&M Bank, with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers as the beneficiary. A line of credit just allows us that funding if we were to ever need it. Obviously, if you don't use it, you don't have to pay it back, and there is no cost to that. And so what we've done since 2017 is we've used this line of, or renewed this line of credit every year just in case we were to ever need it. I will tell you that as of now, putting in a lake at the business park would be very, very expensive, and so we have no plans to necessarily do that. But what we're asking tonight is for management to go ahead and extend that line of credit for another year and give John the authority to sign that document.
Paul, any work done at the industrial park, would that be the responsibility of the BPW to fund anything? Or would that be the city's?
At this point, we haven't done any work out there in quite a long time. I think that would likely be a team effort, depending on what it is. We do have an individual that farms that land for us. Every so often, he'll bring to us proposals for work that he would like to do, and really that's all within his purview, as long as it's related to his farming activities, and that's within that contract. But yeah, at this point, we really haven't done much out there at all, so I think it would have to be a coordinated effort between us and the city.
I've got a question. How many acres is that?
116 total, right? The business park
The
in total?
industrial?
Yeah, 116.
Sounds right, yeah.
Yep.
I've been trying to find out. I couldn't find it anywhere. I figured I'd find out today.
Yep. Yep.
I think we mark it 87 as developable.
Right.
87 or 97. 90 something was stuck in my head, but I might be right.
I have 87, but
Some of it's timber, and then part of that also the substation sits on, right?
Yep.
So that's included in that 116? That's
Yes.
total property.
Right. Yep.
the waterway is a part of it too, so there's a waterway.
And you may have said this, Paul, what's the purpose in renewing this for another year? I mean, I know you said we're not gonna use it, and if we don't use it, just in case something comes up and we're going to,
Well, the window of opportunity for this work is 10 years, right? And so we've only got a couple years left that we could potentially do something. And so it's really just a just-in-case scenario, but Matt might have more background.
This
on
is a stipulation of the permit that we obtained to build that lake. That is, we have to have this line of credit to complete any mitigation work that we would start and then didn't complete. The Corps of Engineers can come on call on that line of credit to do the completion of that mitigation work. If that, like Paul alluded to, our permit is for 10 years, and if we were not to continue this line of credit, we just need to notify the state that we're discontinuing that permit.
this basically a paperwork thing, keep it for the 10 years, okay.
It doesn't cost us anything. We've spent the money on the head end, developing the plan and getting the permit.
Bob, you got a comment?
Yes, I was, a question more, is there a particular place that the lake was going to go, and how does that line up with the potential sale of little parcels out there?
The lake was going to go in the creek area just south of the substation, right there about where Lakeside Drive ends. That would be where the dam would cross, and it wouldn't impact any potential sale of property at this point, because it was all wetland area that you have to have this permit to build anything in. So,
Okay. Whether it be a dam for a lake or
yeah, you can't disturb it.
property, okay.
Yep.
What was the size of the lake you were talking? Acres?
I think it was 8 acres. There was a couple of concepts, but I think ultimately it was determined to go with the 8-acre lake.
What if any potential development needs a water retention pond?
If the lake is not built, then it would be built on each individual property owner's lot.
They wouldn't need this to be able to do that.
No. That was kind of the concept behind it, was you'd have regional detention. And so there was detention built into this lake. But with the lake not being built, it'd fall on each property owner.
So what do we need, a vote to reauthorize the line of credit?
Yes, sir.
I guess do we have a motion to do that?
I'll make a motion to
And a second?
reauthorize the line of credit.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Next up, setting a date for the rate hearing.
Okay, so, yeah, I can give a high-level overview, but typically what we try to do when we have a rate change, which right now we're proposing that rate change to be October 1st. Obviously, the charter does require us to have a public rate hearing the month before, and so we typically try to get in your hands a proposed schedule of rates and fees that has all of those changes laid out to give you a full month to look at it, review it, come up with any questions you have, things like that. And then we can obviously have discussion tonight if we need to, or we can discuss during the actual hearing itself, which we're proposing would be in September. But right now, there's 5 changes that are proposed on the schedule of rates and fees. The first would be an adjustment in electric rates. We're proposing to adjust revenue to where we would add 11.2% of new revenue into the electric fund. And that's to satisfy 2 obligations that we're looking at. One, to make sure we return to compliance with the outstanding debt covenant in the electric fund that we talked about earlier. And then 2 is to comply with our board-approved cash reserve policy that we've talked about in the past. Any time that any fund drops below its minimum funding level, that policy does direct the general manager to recommend appropriate rates and control expenditures to ensure a positive change in cash each year equal to 5% of the gross revenue in that fund. And so that 11.2% of new revenue would satisfy that obligation. What that equates to for the average residential customer is about a 7.8% rate increase. And that comes out to be about $18 a month for the average residential user who uses 1,200 kilowatt hours a month. The next item, number 2 of 5, is the need to also raise or adjust water rates to raise approximately 3% of new revenue in the water fund. That is to continue on the rate track that was set by Utility Financial Solutions back in September of 2022. If you'll recall, we did not do a rate adjustment last year in the water fund, and we've seen increases in our water treatment chemical costs, and then we know we have built-in increases in that carbon change-out expense that we have quarterly. The average water user would see a rate increase of about 2.8%, and that comes out to approximately $1.49 a month for the average residential user that uses 4,000 gallons a month. And then 3 changes outside of those rate adjustments. One, we're looking or proposing to increase our water and wastewater treatment testing fees. We perform those services for a number of other smaller municipalities as well as small businesses that need that testing done either monthly, or some of them are annually or semi-annually. And so we do offer those services for them. We have not raised the water treatment testing fees since 2017, and I believe the last time we raised the wastewater treatment testing fees was in 2019. And we have seen increases in the cost it is to provide those services. Number 4 of 5 of total changes to our schedule of rates and fees is to add the Hannibal Convention and Visitors Bureau and Molly Brown House to the list of entities receiving free utilities. We've talked about that one last month. And then lastly, the last proposal is to increase the rate for kilowatt hours that are delivered to us, the BPW, by a net metering customer. And so any customer that is net metering, whether they have solar or wind, if they are to generate energy in excess of what they use, they're able to sell that back to us. And so we are proposing to raise that rate from 6.5 cents per kWh to 7.5 cents per kWh. And the idea there is that you are to pay them back based on the avoided cost of what it would cost to purchase that kilowatt hour elsewhere. And so we've seen our our wholesale cost for power increased these last few years, and so we have a need to raise that rate. So you've got the redlined draft of the new schedule of rates and fees there in front of you. And so what we would need tonight is just for approval to set that date for a public rate hearing ahead of our next board meeting in September.
Is there a reason we can't do it at the same time as the regularly scheduled board meetings, to start it at 4 and then get through it and then?
Yep.
Start the
Yep,
regular
that's
board
what we would do like we've done in the past. Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I would ask for the board's consideration in adjusting that start time. I believe we did that last year when I was on the board, to allow the general public a better opportunity to come and sit in on that rate increase here.
Sure. What time did we change it to back then? I can't remember.
I think we did it at 5 or 5:30.
Yeah.
We tried to get a little bit past when the normal, majority of the normal working people would get off if they wanted to come.
Yeah.
And I think we did have a few people from community come.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, 5:30 would have people who are.
What would we do with our board meeting then?
You'd
Would it be better to do it on a different day then? Or would we have a board meeting and then stop and do the
You could do the rate hearing and then go into your board meeting just after that,
Okay,
because you're going to want to approve those rates at some time, or at least take them up, so.
right, okay.
So is everybody okay with 5:30?
This would be on the 18th, right? Or not the 18th.
The 15th.
15th.
Did we say 5 o'clock? Yeah,
5:30?
5:30. But 5 o'clock, the meeting's gonna start, or no, 5:30.
No, we'll just start the rate hearing at 5:30, and then
Okay.
after that, get into the regular board meeting, which would put us here later than normal, but
Yeah,
doesn't matter to me.
Well, could you clarify on the electric
Matters to
rate
people who have to drive.
so that it's also $18 for 1,200 kilowatts, is that what I heard?
Mm-hmm.
So is that a certain percentage per kilowatt then? Like, how did you come up with the 18 approximately?
Yeah, so that is just based, yeah, that's a good question. I've got it here. 1 second. Yeah, so 11.2% in total new revenue. That total new revenue comes from 3 sources: usage, demand, and customer charge. 75% of that new revenue is allocated from usage, 15% is to demand, and then 10% is to the customer charge. And so because residential doesn't have demand, that's only our industrial customers, they don't see the entire 11.2% increase. And so,
So there'll be an increase on the amount of kilowatts as well as an increase on that customer charge?
correct, yep,
Okay.
yep. Yep, the proposed usage charge would be 12.3 cents if we round per kilowatt hour, and the proposed customer charge would be going from $25 to $27.15.
I do want to just make a comment that I have, obviously, maybe some of you too, received so many comments about the rate increase, and nobody wants it. I know as a board, we have looked at absolutely everything. I don't want anyone to think that this is easy for us either, because $18 a month, for some people may seem like that's not very much, but I know a heck of a lot of people that is a whole lot of money too. I guess I just want people watching from home or who come back and watch this to know that we have done so much to try to figure it out. Even the city found some kind of mistake we made, and we adjusted that. So we haven't made this decision lightly to have this increase. I can't see any other way around that we don't increase it. I don't like saying that. I wish I could sit here and say, we don't need to do it, let's not do it. But we tried last year to do a smaller rate increase, hoping that that would make it work, and it just didn't. So here we are now having to raise it to 11.2%. And the water increase, I know last year we passed on because we were doing that electric increase. So it has to be done. So I wanted to make that comment because I've gotten several people. Why do we have to raise it? Have you done everything? Have you looked at every line? And, yes, we have.
I'm glad you said that, because I've actually had a lot of people too, but in regards to, like, you said $18 is a lot to some people, and I know you guys have some type of program for helping people that can't. How is that going to, like, change? What is the parameters for qualifying for that? Because I've had a couple of people ask me that, and I honestly just tell them to call out and talk to somebody here, because I don't know.
I don't think it's through the Board of Public
The
Works, right?
program you're talking about is handled through Neil's, or Douglas?
Douglas.
I think it's
NECAC, right?
NECAC,
NECAC
No,
helps in the
Douglas
winter? Oh,
Community.
Douglas, okay.
Well, NECAC, that's where you apply for your LIHEAP.
Okay. And unfortunately, the $18 is probably gonna hurt the majority of people who don't qualify for that additional help, that are right there on the border of making too much money, but still, struggling with their bills. That's the part that always gets me, but there just really isn't any other way around it as far as I can see, so. And I have looked and looked. I've gotten with other people to help me look too, and I just can't find any way around it. So I just wanted to put that out there, that none of us here want to, we don't want our bills to go up either, so it's kind of a.
There's no real consolation, but the thing about it is that Hannibal's electric rates are not the highest. I'm only saying that just because when you compare operations here versus there, if we were higher, then there'd certainly be a need to fix it. And like you said, costs are being cut any place they can. Things are monitored to the nth degree with the online systems. And I think the thing that speaks volumes is that you compare the rates that are produced based on all those things to Ameren or to other local communities, we're still lower. And I think that's kind of the telling tale in how efficient the whole place is run compared to other places. That's kind of to your point too.
I was just gonna say, as we tell people to go to NECAC, you may wanna set fair expectations that they've been cut tremendously too. In the past, they would have talked to them about weatherization and making their houses more efficient so that the power went a lot longer. They don't have that funds anymore. That was cut out with the big beautiful bill, and they'll walk them through it, but that's the reality of it. So we just have to set expectations as we send them out.
Well, another one of the huge problems, and I've seen this through my days of rental business and real estate, is that the people who can least afford it are the ones who are living in a brick house that they're renting with no insulation and single pane windows, and they're the ones that are gonna be affected, the ones who can, hardly, they can't afford to move into something that's energy efficient because they just don't have that income. So that's the category that's really gonna be hurt the most.
And NECAC would be the company that would help them with that, and they're just not gonna be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I don't disagree with what you just said, because I have very, very thin windows at my building, but something that I think moving forward with the storm drain water, and I know that you guys dealt with a certain business owner downtown, but something to be mindful of, business owners, their rates are higher than residential's. And I know myself and several other businesses, specifically on Main Street, our utilities are astronomical. So when, like, for example, North Street was blocked and it hinders business coming downtown and income coming into us, Like, that's something that I just think is so important that we need to be mindful of when we're blocking the street. That's gonna affect income to those that are paying high rates as it is. But two, increasing rates and everything, you know, we're asking the people to, we might as well kiss the public safety tax goodbye, you know? These are things that I think that we just need to continue to be mindful of, you know?
I know people who live downtown, they'll live in a part of the business, maybe the second floor. When they get their bill, do they still have to pay commercial rates, or can they get it in their name because they're personally living
No, I think that they pay
there?
residential, but I'm sorry,
Okay.
I'm sure as far as like, so for example, the building I'm in that I just recently sold, but I'm still there, downstairs is commercial because it was business, and then upstairs is residential because it's an apartment.
Okay.
As long as it's metered separately.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and all
it's
of them
based
are.
upon the usage of the space.
But the business rates are higher than residential rates. So when streets are being blocked or whatever, it's just, I think, frustrating for business owners that it affects our income when we're paying higher rates.
James? One thing we're going to talk about at the rates and fees is going to be the Molly Brown House? Oh, no, the Visitors Convention Bureau, potentially giving them electricity at zero cost. Based on how that is organized and paid for, does it fit the same scenario as other city-owned buildings?
It's city-owned.
Okay. The fact that the revenue,
The HCBB is not an entity that could own real estate, so the building itself is for sure owned by the city.
okay, so it wasn't put together as a
No.
entity or a
The
legal
HCBB
entity?
actually existed as a board of the city prior to getting the tax. The tax was, had to be authorized by the legislature, and then the people voted it in. So they've got a different funding source for their operations, but only to the fact that that tax is earmarked to them. They are all still city employees, and it's city property.
So that bed tax exclusively goes to,
The bed tax
BCB.
has to, by the terms of it, by what was approved by the voters, it has to go the operations of HCBB in certain areas that they can spend it on.
anything else is just absorbed by the owner of the building, which would be the city?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. That's the only outstanding question. I just want to make sure we weren't violating any legal thing by providing that electricity. All right. I think we're set
Give you a motion, John,
to,
date, to set the public hearing date.
have a motion to set the date for September 15th at 5:30 in this room.
I'll make sure for that.
There's one and a second. All in
Second.
favor?
Oh, aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, next up is setting a date for the stormwater workshop. If you guys weren't at the city council meeting, we kind of, sidebar said that it'd be a good idea to get everybody together and spitball some things about the stormwater, because funding has to come, and it has to come from somewhere. And BPW has been slated to take care of the stormwater, below ground stormwater, and trying to figure out funding, of course, was done once or twice, voted down, but all the different iterations of the plan on how to charge were here, and you can look back at them, but it'd be worthwhile looking back at those things in the public meetings that were put together to see at least what's been thought about and talked about. So when should we set a time and a date? Anybody care?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
can I speak?
Yeah.
Did the city clerk reach out to you?
Push the button.
Yeah, push the button there.
James didn't have to push the button. Did the city clerk reach out to you, Mr. Chairman?
No.
Do you know, Matt, if she reached out to you guys?
She sent an email to Darren and said you all had a special meeting on,
Well, it's not set, we're working on one for the end of,
27th
for the end of
is
this
what you're-
month. And I was gonna try to, because you guys asked about the fifth board member and also the stormwater. So we were trying to put together, she had sent a request to you guys to see about your availability on the 27th, which is a Wednesday, to get together. Now, this special call meeting has not been set yet. That's not 100% for sure. So the council that's in the room doesn't even know about it.
Okay.
But I'm trying to, work with you guys on your request to get the board and the council together sooner rather than later. So I just wanted to throw that in there as far as this discussion goes.
Yeah, I didn't get an email, but I don't really check this thing until the day before.
Okay.
Will that get, if there was a fifth board member, would the special meeting, would that be in time to get it on November, or is this shooting for April or beyond?
Yeah, I mean, if that's,
Yeah. I don't know.
it's flashing orange. Matt broke it. I'll speak loud. No, it would not get it on this ballot. It would be in April. So if that's something that the council and the board wanted to work together on a plan moving forward, it would be probably the April timeframe. So
And you guys are tossing around August 27?
that's the date that we're looking at for a special call meeting for another issue. So I just figured if the council was going to be there, that's
Did you
7 of the 11 of us. So
5:30 is what was relayed to us?
that's what we're working on. I should have something tomorrow or Wednesday, for sure.
Yeah.
If that doesn't work, we can do something different, but I wanted to be, wanted to work with you guys on your request to get us all together in the same room, and if we're gonna already be there for another issue. But we can wait if that doesn't work. You guys can discuss it, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, cool. I mean, that date's good for me. I don't know.
Did you say August?
August
27? It's a
I
Wednesday.
don't know why I
I
wrote
believe
September.
next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday?
Yeah, because this Wednesday is the.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm available that day. Yep.
Yeah, for planning purposes, I think that would work. Yeah.
So for the council in the room, we're looking at a meeting on the 27th. If you want to jot that down on your calendar, but nothing is set official.
BPW's bring pizza, or do we get
Next Wednesday at 5:30
At
is what
City Hall.
is what the city clerk said.
City Hall, yeah.
Yep.
That works.
Can I make a couple other comments and
Go ahead.
address the board very briefly? I will not question and answer. I just want to make a couple comments about some things that I took some notes on, some things that we discussed. Accountability and transparency. That's the biggest thing that we hear as a council. And that's also what we hear the biggest complaints about this board, or at least I do anyway. I shouldn't speak for everybody else. The first thing is, I really feel like when April came earlier, Councilwoman Azatec came earlier, she was just looking for some accountability. And I understand, I agree with you, it's public comment, not a Q&A. That's what we have as well. So I'm with you, John, on that 100%. I think she was just looking for somebody to answer her question on who dropped the ball. Whether it be, hey, it was 4th of July, I'm John, I forgot to say something to Darren, or did you, as the board chairman, give someone a directive to do that and it didn't get complied with? That's part of the issue that we have. That's all I'm going to say about that. In the director's report, I wanted to make a comment earlier about the comparison that he made in there with the 5.5% gross revenue that they pay to the city. That's in the form of a transfer fee. And he discussed that other utilities would not be beholden to that, which is, and maybe James can chime in if he wants to, but I don't believe is accurate because
I don't know.
Because if we had another power utility in town, let's say that we didn't have the Board of Public Works and we got power from Ameren or somebody else, they would still have to pay that transfer fee. So that 5.5% would still apply to anybody. So to me, that's really not an unfair, or that's an unfair comparison that he made in that
Probably is.
report, but he's not here.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yeah.
There are some areas that are served by other utility providers. Are they charged that?
I don't have that in front of me,
Matt,
but he
here's
might
the
be able
deal.
to.
You're going down a road you probably don't want to go down, because here's the deal. Those areas are supposed to be charged for that fee. A year and a half ago, I asked the board to help me figure out who those people were and that we would start making sure that got charged, and I have not got any cooperation from that. The city stands ready to have me do those things if the board will help me figure out what addresses are not being charged that transfer fee, because we are quite happy to talk to Rawls County REC or whoever it is and start seeing to it that they are paying their fee on those things.
Okay, well, I was under the impression that it
And
was already
it's
been
not,
provided,
it's not, I don't mean to throw that at you, but I will tell you, I have spoken to Darren about it on multiple occasions. I have been assured, the former city manager was assured that the board would cooperate with that and would help me figure that information out, provide me what those households were, et cetera, et cetera. It has never been done, and I think ultimately the city manager came to the conclusion it just wasn't worth fighting about. But if that is something that the city wants me to continue to work on, in particular if the board will cooperate, I will be happy to push that forward, because I agree with you, they ought to be paying that 5.5%. If they're getting income from our taxpayers, they should be paying their fair share, because it is on them. It is a franchise fee, is what's really going on.
well, it's unfair to our rate comparison.
Correct.
If you have a
And it-
neighbor that's inside the city limits
and
providing
it-
utility
it-
by somebody else and not being charged that additional 5.5%.
It creates confusion, and it is something that is not fair to all the people that are paying it, because they are our customers. But it is something that I certainly have absolutely no way of knowing who that is. We discussed possibly just sending a letter to those utilities, but there's one in particular that I know that's providing service. When we send those types of letters, they just blow us off or ignore us. So if we have some knowledge regarding specific locations that are being serviced by them, we can make some demands that they start paying their franchise fee, and if they don't, there are specific legal actions we can bring against them.
Okay, well, again, I was under the impression that information had been
never-
passed along.
It's never been
What we
provided.
have.
Yeah,
And so-
it's never been provided to me, and it's one of those things where I agree, you guys are in a perfect position to help me figure out who those people are, but we need to have that information, or at least
Some of them, they're not customers of ours on any account, so we wouldn't have information about them.
well,
They're in the
you,
city.
you guys are the ones who, and with respect, you guys have got trucks, you know whose lines are where, you know whose lines run to which houses, and I understand it would be asking you guys to do some additional work, because it's going to require somebody to go out and go take a look at REC's line, or take a look at whoever else their lines. But when we're talking electrical, it's in the air. We can figure that out. Water might be a little tougher, but electricity, just follow the lines. You tell me this address, this address, this address. We will send a demand to the provider and say, we know you're providing power to these addresses, and you have not paid your franchise fee, and we'll proceed. If they don't pay it, we'll sue them.
Okay.
Can I ask a question with that? How is it decided if a customer can jump onto a different provider?
Does
it happen?
Shortcut.
Sorry.
I
We don't
laugh
have to
because,
open that.
well, but just real quickly, there is a statutory framework of what is supposed to happen, and there are multiple things that are taken in consideration. If they're inside our city limits, as a general rule, we've got the right to provide power, except if it already had power from another person. If it's someone from an REC who was getting a particular finance scheme, blah, 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 blah. The general rule is you're within our confines, we're supposed to provide the power. But then there's all these provisos in the state law. I think I did a memo on it. If you want, I'll send you the memo that I've got, because Palmyra had an issue. I think I did a memo for Hannibal too, but I know Palmyra had a little issue with one about a year and a half ago. And if you're interested at all, I would be happy to send you a copy of that memo. And if you're going, no, James, I was just asking generally, that's fine.
I was just curious because it happened with water, my next door neighbor, and I didn't understand.
Water
How
territory
it's-
is defined. It actually is an agreement between us and Rawls County Water that was sent to and approved by the Public Service Commission. So we have a defined territory regardless of how the city boundaries change that we're allowed to serve.
Which is also provided for under the statute. The water guys played nicer. Electric, we couldn't get territorial agreements. I believe it's been attempted to get territorial agreements with them in the past, and instead it's like the Wild West, everybody fighting, blah, blah, blah. There's one particular provider that will be very combative with it, but it'll be fun.
You can say the memo.
Okay.
Some like bedtime reading.
Yeah.
It's only about 10 pages long. No.
Two more quick things and I'll let you go. The phase 2 of the project, I had several people question me, including a couple council members, about the delay in that project. From what I can gather, and I'm making a comment, you don't have to respond back now. I think Matt alluded to earlier that yes, the city does own the project. The Board of Public Works has been tasked with overseeing that project. And from my understanding, the reason that phase 2 didn't start pretty much immediately after the end of phase 1 had to do with two components, one being the bonding of the bid winner and the second being the permit from MoDOT not being completed in time. So again, that's not what was presented to the board tonight. I don't know if there's any truth to that or not, but when it comes to accountability and transparency, that's what I understand from the city standpoint. So I wanted to make that comment. That's all I want to say about that.
The
Can you say
bonding,
again,
the bonding
bonding?
with the MoDOT permit is something that MoDOT has changed since,
So I met with MoDOT a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, at their unfunded needs thing, and MoDOT said they were just waiting on a permit and the
but
bond.
the bonding, they changed their bonding requirement. And the contractor's bond provider was working with MoDOT because the people at MoDOT hadn't been through this before.
Gotcha.
And the bonding agency had never been through this type of bonding before.
Okay.
I think they're going to a statewide type bond rather than a project specific. The contractor had project specific because they worked with MoDOT on a weekly basis, I think. And so it was something new that was thrown in the mix.
Wasn't phase 1 pushed off though because of weather? I was under the impression that it was.
Phase
pushed off-
1 was delayed till the fall due to trying to avoid all the downtown
But like
events.
January, February, and I think maybe
They
March
couldn't
too,
work
because of the weather, right? So why are we pushing off phase 2 to the exact same timeframe?
because this is different. The existing the phase 1, you were digging out and replacing in place. This one is a new alignment. So the existing
able to
storm,
work in the
the
weather
existing storm sewer will divert all the water down into the new storm sewer installed as part of phase 1. And phase 2 is going to take that alignment, put it out in the outer lane of westbound Mark Twain Avenue, and avoid all that water until they make the final connection up by Happy Stay Motel, I think it is.
Yeah. Okay. So there's no way that it would get delayed again since we're already out 5 more
I mean,
months
you
because
could
of
have
weather?
negative 20-degree winter and they're not going to be able to do work. But the big issue with that was being able to meet MoDOT's guidelines or recommendation to have that pavement surface restored prior to going into winter.
So
And
there's no way to start prior to 5 more months away?
I mean, you can't guarantee when the asphalt plants are going to shut down. We even explored the option of pouring new concrete street, but they didn't want two different types of street surfaces. They want, we're only putting 1.5 inches of asphalt on top of this because they have to match to
So
me.
Why did they wait the asphalt?
I mean, we didn't know we were getting this money or how far this money was going to go
That,
when this
I think
project was
also,
over.
that question was asked the other day too. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but, because they were in the same boat. It was either use the money or lose the money is what was relayed to
Well, since
us.
we're still looking at 5 more months out, is it possible to make sure that that sidewalk isn't blocked for another 5 months? I meant to say something earlier when I was up there and I didn't, but.
Yeah, we'll look into it. I mean, as best we can. I know it is heavy, and I don't know that.
I don't know what it was doing.
I know there's not a machine. The excavator that was moving it, they moved off site, so they could finish the final grading and such. But we can talk with them and see what we can do.
I think that's just the biggest thing, right? Is just how you explained it is excellent, and it's the truth, and it's what matters. But that's what our constituents in this room and everybody that calls you guys, that's the information that they need, is to say, hey, look, and I'm not trying to throw MoDOT under the bus either, but like, hey, we're doing the best we can here. This is why, not just, well, we're going to wait because of this. Like full transparency. I had one other thing, but I'm going to let you go because I'm not going to take up too much of your time. It wasn't even on your agenda. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving along to any other general discussion? If not, I guess I need a motion to go into
You skip
closed
city
session.
attorney.
Yeah, you know, I had a 45-minute presentation, but, oh, you've gone so late. I'll just skip it. I have no comments.
Who has the list of,
Cole has it, you do too, I think. At the bottom of
could I get a motion to go into closed session with all the details that you have on your paper?
I don't have those details.
All right, I'm gonna make a motion to go into closed session. The Missouri Sunshine Law, section 610.02112, to discuss contracts, admitting our board, our attorney,
Me and Paul.
you and Paul,
Courtney.
and Courtney. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I need to do a voice vote to go into closed session. I mean, probably a roll call vote. You need a roll call.
To go into closed session?
Go in or out. You should take a roll call, both directions.
Didn't know that.
Wortworth,
Yes.
Painter,
Yes.
Crimson,
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
I realized it was unanimous, but I saw a case once where it was unanimous and they still said, because you didn't call roll call, that was a violation of the Sunshine Law. And they set aside whatever they did.
Okay,
in
John,
closed
I
session.
mean,
Not us. It was another case I was reading for another client.